Okay, in this video I'm going to go through a few more proofs. So this is the first one, and what we have here is this argument, which contains two premises, P and Q, and if Q then R, and their conclusion is R. So we begin by writing it this way. We list the premises, put PR on the far right, and we put a line underneath the last premise. Okay, so to begin, two things we can do. So on line 1 we have P and Q, so we can use conjunction elimination and get P on a line by itself, and we would cite that as ampersand elim, line 1. We can also, from that same line, get Q on a line by itself, and we would cite that the same way. Now that we have Q on a line by itself, we can use the arrow elim, conditional elimination rule, because we have one line with a conditional, one line that is a conditional with an arrow in it, and we have the antecedent. So that means on a new line we can put the consequent. So there we can put R on a line by itself. We cite that as arrow elim, lines 2 and 4. Okay, so this is our conclusion, so we're done. The only thing I'll point out to you is we used and elimination to get line P here, but we didn't really need to do that. We needed the Q on a line by itself so that we could use arrow elim, but we didn't need this. I put it on a line because we could do it. It doesn't hurt anything, but it's not necessary. So we could have done this without this line 3. Okay, next we have this. So here we have just one premise, a long one. If C, then D, and C and not F, and then our conclusion is D or H. So we begin by writing the premise. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do once we have the premise written down is and elimination. That's really the only thing we can do, but we've got an ampersand here, so on a new line we can put C arrow D, and that's going to be and elim for line 1, and then we can also put C and not F, and that's going to be the same. Ampersand elim on line 1. Okay, let's see. Then next, we can do and elim again on this line. So that's going to give us, we can put either C or not F, but what we want is C. So we'll put that. And that's going to be on for line 3. Now that we have C arrow D on one line and the antecedent C on another line, we can put D, the consequent, on a line by itself. And that's arrow elim on lines 2 and 4. Okay, then our final step is going to be to use wedge intro, that is disjunction introduction. So D or H. Wedge intro on line 5. Okay, and that's our conclusion, so we're done. Okay, in this argument we have three premises, P arrow Q, S or P, not S, and our conclusion is not S and Q. Okay, so that's how we begin. Now, let's see. So the first thing we can do is wedge elim. So we have a sentence with a disjunction, or sentence that is a disjunction, S or P. We have the negation of one of the disjuncts. So that means on a new line we can put P. Now that we have P on a line by itself and we have P arrow Q up here, we can do arrow elim, and when we do that we can put Q on a new line. So okay, and now that we have Q, and of course we have not S here on line 3, so we can put them together using the conjunction introduction rule. That's lines 3 and 5. Okay, and we're done. Again, this is our conclusion. So that's our proof. Okay, I'm going to stop there. There are other videos which you should watch, but you should also start trying to do this in Carnap yourself. And of course, if you have any questions, you can email me.